Hello to our community group leaders and teachers. This is the Teaching Series Extra for Sunday, May 13th, 2018. And we are continuing in our teaching series on 1 Peter called Stranger Things, but I think it's worth stopping for just a moment because I mentioned something in the sermon on May 6th that I think is worth unpacking just a little bit for our community groups and for anybody who's hearing this that is a follower of Jesus. I believe that one of the keys to spiritual growth is accountability. We can only grow so far by ourselves, and we need other people to push us. It's why we have physical trainers. It's why we have coaches, because they can see some things from the outside that we can't see from the inside. So we talk about accountability in our community and as Christ followers, but what does that really look like? I mean, at First Baptist Tulsa, we have regularly over 750 adults who meet in community groups. What does accountability look like? And recently in my own mind, I've just kind of concluded or solidified in my mind, there are 5 essential questions that we ought to be asking one another all the time. First is this: am I more in love with God today than ever before? And as I roll through these 5 questions briefly, it's good for you to just to be introspective. I'm asking you, are you more in love with God today than ever before? If you look into your past as some high point in your relationship with God and say that was the apex, that was the best it ever was, then you're missing something today. Every day we should be asking that question, and every day it's not about emotions, but it's about intention, that I will love the Lord my God with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's the first question. Second question, am I growing more compassionate toward people? You know, there's that old illustration of a boiling pot of water, and you put an egg in and it gets hard, you put a potato in and it gets soft. Well, we're kind of in the kettle here in this world, and it's easy for our hearts to become hard toward other people, especially when we get burned, especially when life heats up. We should always be more and more compassionate with other people and not more callous. So really these first 2 questions, they fall in line with Jesus' great command to love the Lord your God and to love other people. But then in that great commandment, Jesus said, love other people as you love yourself. And so I think the third question of accountability is, am I loving myself properly? Because many people hate themselves. There is nothing Christ-like about hating yourself. Some people are in love with themselves. A person who hates themselves feels like I can do nothing right. A person who is in love with themselves say, I can do nothing wrong. We're called to have that balanced approach, that we love ourselves without being in love with ourselves. And we submit our direction and our decision to the Lord for His correction. So 3 questions. Are you more in love with God? Are you more compassionate toward others? Do you love yourself? Now the final 2 questions really do just require saying yes and no. Am I saying yes to whatever God is asking me to do in my life? Am I saying yes to whatever it is that God is asking me to do in my life? Maybe it's a step of obedience, maybe it's a risk. If you don't know what God is asking, then you should go about a listening posture in life, and we can talk later about what it means to listen to God. But once you hear God give some direction, are you saying yes? Are you practicing daily obedience to His voice the best you can understand and hear His voice? The final question is this: are you saying no to sin? We all have those sins that just keep coming back. They visit us again and again. They're our longtime nemesis. But daily we must say no to sin that wants to infiltrate our life. So notice we say yes to God and no to sin. It's so easy to get those wires crossed, and we say no to God and yes to sin. That should not be the case in our lives. 5 simple questions. I would encourage in your community group to begin to explore these questions. In a small group study I was in, I played around with these questions, and somebody said, well, what would happen to our church if we just started asking ourselves these questions and asking each other these questions every single week? I think our church would get really small because they're uncomfortable questions. I think we all need 2 or 3 people around us to ask these questions. Probably that group can't get much bigger than that because these are very intimidating, intimate questions. But these are questions that we must ask and we must answer if we want to grow and continue to become until we completely become like Jesus Christ. May the Lord bless you. As always, I'm privileged to be your pastor here at First Tulsa. Take care. Bye-bye.